In the first video on stem splitting with AI, we looked at the process in general with the help of an example and explained how you can use stem splitting for analysis and inspiration. In this video now, we will compare tools from several providers and take a closer look at the results of the stem splitting we gained from a stereo master. For a precise comparison, we also have the original mix stems in our project. If you're interested in mixing, mastering and producing, check out our website at hofer-college.com. We are going to compare 5 different tools: Logic Pro, RX11, Cubase 15, LALAL.AI, which works online, and RipX. Our example is going to be a modern metalcore song, which provides us with the following stems: drums, bass, guitars, synths, and vocals. We're going to start with Logic Pro. Here you can see our stereo file in blue. Now let's check these stem splitting options: vocals, drums, bass, guitar, and others. We're gonna quit on piano since the track doesn't feature any piano. This usually takes around 40 to 50 seconds. Here you can see the results: 5 stereo tracks, which we now are going to export because we want to import them all together in one DAW to be able to compare them together with the original files. Our second tool is going to be RX11. Here you can see the already imported stereo file. We choose the function Music Rebalance and face 4 different stem options: vocal, bass, drums, and others, which is the rest of the instruments. The best quality will be good enough for us, and we keep the sensitivity knob default because we want to get it neutral. The rendering process takes around 5 minutes. Our result is shown in 4 different windows, the different stems which we as well will export. Next up, Cubase 15 with the brand new stem separation. Here we have our file, and we're going to choose Separate Stems via audio. Vocals, drums, bass, and others are the 4 stem options we have. This will take us around a minute, which is kind of quick. Here we have our result with the 4 stems already added to a folder. Our next candidate is LALAL.AI, which is an online service that provides you with different kinds of stems. You can see we have many choices here, even piano, synthesizer, strings, and wind. First of all, we're gonna upload our stereo master file. Since we have no option to render all the stems at one time, we do it separately, one after another. So we're extracting all the stems, meaning all elements the song is containing. The procedure starts with creating a preview. Then we choose Split in Full, and after the file is rendered, we download the stem. So we will do with the following stem options that are given. We're gonna extract the drums, bass, electric guitar, synthesizer, and vocal. Of course, there's an option for voice and noise, but we choose vocals since this is made for singing, not for a speaking voice. Last but not least, we're going to use the RipX DAW Pro. We have a 20 days trial, but it provides us with all the options. First of all, we're going to import the stereo file. In the importing window, we face the following options: separate instruments, of course, highlighted. Then we have voice, other sounds and instruments, bass, drums and percussion, and separate guitar and piano. So the ripping time is estimated around 6 minutes. That's quite a while. The result looks quite interesting. Yes, it's a DAW, and you're able to work on more than these stems because you have now separated layers you can edit. You can work on the harmonies, you can tune and pitch around, you can even revoice sound or change samples. For example, a bass drum. If you don't like the bass drum sound, swap it. But that's not what we're here for. We're going to check on the export options, where we can choose the file formats and all kinds of specifications, and we decide to export the full rip, so to say, which is basically the stems, which we choose in the beginning. But we're also going to export the separate layers. So we have definitely more options here by voice, guitar, bass, kick, drums, percussion, and strings. We're gonna, of course, compare the differences in between those 2 export options. Now let's start the comparison. All of these exported stems are now imported all together in one DAW, which is Cubase in our case. On the top we have the original files in orange, Logic in green, RX11 in light blue, Cubase 15 in pink, LALAL.AI in yellow, and down there RipX in light blue for the stems, and in dark blue for the layers, which are also stems. Let's listen and get to know the song a little bit. Now we are going to compare the stereo sum of all the stems from the original down to RipX. For this we're going to use the most opulent part featuring all the instruments, which is the chorus. Okay, now Logic. Pretty much the same. Extremely close to the original. As well as this. Here goes the first big difference, because in the LALAL.AI stems we miss the high synthesizer lines. Again close to the original. Now let's check out the layers. Very true to the original as well. Now let's compare the single stems. We're starting with the drums. First of all, the original stem. Keep in mind the rich details of the cymbals and the room. Now Logic. We can hear the attacks, but the room and the cymbals miss some details. RX11 percussion is equal to the drum stems. Although it features all the attacks, the roominess is quite cut. It sounds a little bit like a noise gate, and you can make out some details within the cymbals, which is the top end of the synthesizers. Cubase 15. Same here. You have some synthesizer top end bleeding within the drums, and more than that, we're missing the attack. It really sounds like a filter, and the resolution reminds of an MP3. LALAL.AI again gives us punch, but the roominess is cut as well, and we get some wacky detail down there that sounds like upper bass bleeding from another instrument. We cannot tell exactly what it is, but it's definitely not in the original stem. RipX provides us again with attack and a little bit roominess, but again we have the bleeding from the synthesizer top end. The layer stems give us 3 tracks: the kick, the drums, which in that case is the snare, and the percussion will be the rest of the drum set. A little bit of synth bleeding, but it's not bad. Actually, it has some room, it has some punch in it, and I'd say that's one of the best results here. Let's compare the bass. Here we have a distorted bass with not only low end and bass frequencies, but some information and energy in the mids and in the top end. Let's keep that in mind. Logic provides us with bass, but it sounds a little bit like a low-pass filter because we don't have any mids or top end in this. The RX11 stem provides us with bass, but also some resonances that might come from another instrument. The Cubase 15 bass stem sounds a little bit hollow and modulating. It definitely carries some signal of the guitars since we meet some stereo signal here. And this bass should be mono. Although we have bass and again this metalish sound, we at least have some of the attack signal. But the stem bass sounds equal to the layer bass. Now let's check out the guitars. We have a rich, high-gain sound here, which is stereo. The Logic stem gives us all the upper bass and mid information, but it sounds a bit washy and modulating in the top end. So we're missing definitely high frequencies here. We cannot compare directly to RX11 since we have other instruments, meaning synths and guitars. But we definitely have our mids, we have our stereo field, but a very cloudy sound in the top end. The Cubase guitar sound is quite good, and we recognize the synths, but obviously we have bleeding from the drums. LALAL.AI provides us with mids, but again we have some washy sound in the high frequencies. The RipX other stem again sounds a little bit like an MP3. We have the synths mixed with the guitars, but we're again missing top end here. The guitar layer unfortunately doesn't offer more separation to us. It still features some synthesizer on the guitar track. This is how the combined synth layer is supposed to sound. We have that sawtooth characteristic with attack, definition and a white space. Not bad logic, since we have the details of the attack and we can figure out parts of the room, but it lacks a little bit of sustain and roominess again, and top end. RX11 gives just hints of the synthesizers. And so does Cubase. It's hard to make out the synths behind the guitars. Here goes the first big difference, because LALAL.AI simply ignores the synthesizers. We got just some tiny bits of it here. The RipX stem other mostly features the guitars, but since the guitars are more prominent than the mids and the synths are more in the top end, we have roughly the same as in the other tracks of RX11 or Cubase 15. The strings layer of RipX again, just like LALAL.AI, basically ignores most of the synth signal.
Come fly with me, we're leaving ground. Think about when you hear the sound.
The original vocal stem contains the front vocal as well as backing vocals, meaning doubles, left and right. So we have a full stereo sound with a reverb on it.
Come fly with me, we're leaving ground. Think about when you hear the sound.
Logic gives us a clear articulation and the full stereo sound, we have the mids, and we even have some high frequencies. But again, we miss partially the top end and of course a lot of space here.
Fly with me, we're leaving ground. Take it back when you hear the sound.
RX11 sounds a little bit rough in the high frequencies, and we have some leaking from the synthesizers.
Come fly with me, we're leaving ground. Take it back when you hear the sound.
Cubase 15 provides us with mids and articulation, but again we have some leaking synthesizers as well as drums this time.
Come fly with me, we're leaving ground. Take it back when you hear the sound.
LALAL.AI result is not far away from Logic. We have the open vocals, we have the articulation, but still we have the bleed from the synthesizers.
Come fly with me, we're leaving ground. Take it back when you hear the sound.
The RipX vocal stem is quite clear in the high frequencies, but again we have these synthesizer bleeds in here, which seems to be a problem in general for the AI.
Come fly with me, we're leaving ground.
The voice stem on RipX is equal to the vocal stem. But let's give it a second chance and check out another part of the song which kind of has a different instrumentation. We now have a clean guitar with a nice spacey reverb and delay on it, and another synth part which has an arpeggio in it, of course playing single notes that move in a panning automation. First of all, the guitar. Rich tape delay. Logic cuts out some high frequencies here. The other instruments in RX11 have a kind of washy sound and some artifacts, maybe leaking from other stems. And so is Cubase. It has some bleeding from the drums as well. LALAL is quite similar to the Logic signal. Again, we're missing some high frequencies and a bit of the delay details. RipX again features some crosstalk from the drums. The guitar layer, on the other hand, doesn't contain any drum signals. Now synths. Logic sounds a bit dull, really dampened. Not fair to compare here, but definitely missing some top end. Same with Cubase, unfortunately. The LALAL stem sounds fractured. It is not complete. Plus, it features some bleeding from the bass as well as the vocals. The other stem of RipX is quite close to what we have in RX11 and Cubase 15. Unfortunately, the strings layer doesn't carry much of information here. Since the RipX layers kick, drums and percussion, which of course equals the drums, is of good quality, we like to compare some EQ curves here. We have the mid signal and we compare it with the original stems. The upper line shows the maximum peaks and the interrupted line the average energy curves. As you can see, we have a snapshot in orange of the original stem and in white of the RipX stems. And you can see throughout the mids up to the top end, we have really a lack of signal here. Let's compare the side signals of the drum stems. In orange we have the original stem, and in blue the RipX layers or stems. And here we can see the immense differences in between the side signals. And actually not just differences, but a lack of energy on the side signals of the AI stems. So let's state it, none of these tools is touching the quality of the original stems. But this is something we did expect, like especially when it comes to roominess and some frequencies that are shared by different instruments. Here we have a rough overview on the main criteriums graded from 0 to 5 points. While Logic is pretty good at handling and has fairly good transients, RX11 has some problems with separating the stems properly. But of course, you can still go and have the sensitivity knob turned to optimize your results. Cubase 15 is a little bit fresh. Maybe there will be some more improvement, but the handling is quite quick and you have your results in a minute. LALAL.AI makes it a bit difficult to get the overview since you're not able to get your results at one time, and sometimes it's leaving out some details, but still a good tool with fine results. RipX, of course, has tons of options, but still, if it delivers good quality, it leaves out some detail from time to time, or you have to summon a few stems in the layers to get your quality right here. Comparing prices here does not quite work since 3 of these tools are just features in larger programs. Here are the recommended retail prices. Logic is around 230 euros. Isotope RX Standard is 439 euros and Advanced 1449. Cubase 15 Pro is around 529 and the artist version 329. LALAL.AI comes in 3 plans. The first one is the starter, which is for free. Well, but if you want to handle like more gigabyte of audio, then you get the light version for $6.75 per month, or the Pro VST plugin. Yeah, you can get it as a plugin for $13.50. The RipX DAW comes for $114 and in the Pro version for €228. As we have learned, the interpretations and results of the 5 different tools vary considerably. There is a certain amount of crosstalk or leaking, for example in the drum stems or vocals, which contain signals from the synths in the top end. Occasionally, some signals are ignored or omitted entirely or in parts. Depending on density and spatial depth, the results and quality of the stems can vary greatly. While very complex and spatial mixes can result in tracks being separated incorrectly and containing signals from other stem groups, more minimalistic and less spatial songs or song parts allow for more transparent and higher quality separation. But even if it is tempting to use the stems for remixes or mashups, they are part of copyright-protected works and should only be used for private purposes or after obtaining a license from a copyright holder. AI as a tool may speed up or simplify production processes, but we recommend being creative yourself. Enjoy the process, the individual result, and your own development. Let's be honest, which painter would boast that a robot painted their picture? I hope you enjoyed the video. For more in-depth knowledge on audio engineering, visit us at hofer-college.com.